Hi all, welcome back to my messy garage. I just wanted to do a follow-up on my trailer hitch install on my 22 Forester Wilderness, and then also talk about the system I'm planning to use with that trailer hitch and why I went that route today. So first, a follow-up on that trailer hitch install. So far I've only encountered one issue. That has to do with the wiring harness and where it comes out from the car. You see there's those anchors for the zip ties. Those did come loose from, they're just little pads, adhesive pads. This surface is rather rough. Also, I probably should have cleaned it a little more than I did when I did the initial install. What I ended up doing is cleaning it again and using some construction adhesive, some Gorilla Glue. Still have one that came loose. I think that one was just due to the set time. I had it taped in place, but that one came a little loose before it set. So to talk a little bit about why I went with the trailer hitch, I have an upcoming trip and I was looking for a storage solution. Newly have 2 children instead of just 1, so we're losing a lot of seat space and also requiring a lot of things for a young child. So I was looking at storage options for our upcoming trip, and the obvious first choice was to go with a roof rack. If you don't know, the Wilderness has the beefier roof rail system. You do have to get those crossbars separately. They're recommending a Thule Aero bar, I believe. And then also get, whatever carrying case you want to go on top of that. So that was the first thing I looked at. But something I'm hoping to do down the line is to get a rooftop tent. And so I decided I didn't want to go this route to start with, in case I end up with a rooftop tent on the top. So what I ended up finding is a product from Yakima called the EXO SwingBase. And essentially it attaches in to your 2-inch trailer hitch, and then you can connect things to it to add storage. So currently what I've got is the EXO GearLocker, which is basically a large box that connects to this swing base. And it's just, a storage solution. So that's what I'm hoping to install today. And then along with it, I have the EXO LitKit. This is just for lighting. I wasn't sure exactly. This is, 1.5 feet deep. So we're looking at it coming up, maybe impacting some of the lighting and also the license plate. So this lit kit comes with a place to install your license plate as well. Okay, to start with, I'm going to look at what comes with this EXO SwingBase, see how tricky it will be to install on the trailer hitch. Hopefully it has everything we need, but I'm really not sure. I've never done anything like this before. I'm not even sure where to open this from. This is pretty heavy. I'm hoping I don't have an issue with the trailer tongue weight. I'm trying to remember exactly what the recommended weight is for this trailer hitch. But this is fairly heavy. I don't see the weight right on here. Okay, it looks like it does come with some hardware. This is the locking key mechanism for the set, and then also a list of instructions. Looks like I will need some wrenches for this. Okay, this one actually has a component in it. honestly not sure. It could be one of the swing arms, but until I get into it, I don't think I'll know exactly what that is. I kind of thought it would be installed. Well, that might be to go into the trailer hitch. All right, here's the main component. There's some more pieces in there. Let's see. Here's the main SwingBase component. It has arms that flip out to hold whatever, in my case the gear locker. Then it has a hinge here that allows you to fold the whole thing open so that you can access your trunk. Alright, so I think these are the main pieces. Those are just spacers. And then whatever's in here. Oh, looks like it might even come with the wrenches. That's nice. Yeah, got some wrenches here. Okay, cool. All right, so I'll take a look at the instructions and then we'll get started. Okay, so looking at the set of instructions here, the first step is installing this component into the trailer hitch. They do come with some nice wrenches and things, but the odd part is they have a torque spec of 100 Newton meters, but they didn't provide a socket. So I have the torque wrench, but I don't have, and what these look like, they're 24 millimeter. I don't have a 24 millimeter socket. So I'm just gonna be tightening this down pretty hard to get it to that 100 Newton meters. I feel like that's about what the torque spec was. They had it in pound feet, like 78 pound feet. I'll have to double check for the actual install of the trailer hitch. And that was pretty darn tight. So that's gonna be my guessing point. Then it looks like there's a locking mechanism that connects to this pin that goes through the install here. And then these other two big nuts and bolts, same pressure rating, are to install the actual SwingBase. So it looks like that's the majority, and then the rest is just setup and controls. All right, cool. So I'll get to it. Okay, this part of the install was not too bad. It was slightly tricky getting the clearance here, but not too bad once you get started. That's just a self tacking one. So it basically screws into its own component here. And then the locking mechanism just goes on this side to prevent it from being removed without the key. Then you have your two bolt hitches here. This is heavy. I don't know, 50, 60 pounds it feels like, I'm not sure. But once you drop it into place, it's pretty secure. It's actually hard to move to get these into the location you would want them. So just keep that in mind. Depending on your strength or whatever, you might need help getting this piece on. Otherwise, yeah, just torquing those down, and that appears to be all to it for now. Okay, the next step appears to be just kind of moving it into position and testing the hinge. So it looks like you have some pins to extend the arms, the swing arms, and then a knob you loosen to actually allow the whole thing to swing out. So let's give that a quick try. So to do driver's side here first. Let's see, is it a pull? Okay, yeah. And then you should just swing it. Okay, I might have to hold it. Let's see. this out maybe. Bring it out into position. There we go. Locks in, that pops back. So they are pretty tight, these little pins, but that's I guess what you want. Okay. And then you have the large knob in the back here. I think I'm tightening. That feels looser. Completely unhooked. Looks like another pin. Oh, and a pin here. Okay, so you've got a pin here, and this knob that locks it into place. There we go. All right, so right now, it looks like I'm gonna have plenty of room of clearance, even with the gearbox in place, so that's great. Okay, that appears to be it for the actual SwingBase install. I think the next thing I'm gonna do is the lighting kit, the EXO LitKit. And the reason I'm gonna jump onto that next instead of the gearbox is because I think access to where the power connects and then back here as well to the wiring harness we installed on the trailer hitch will be easier before I put on the gearbox. Okay, quick little unboxing on this guy. Oh, that tape's already done. Interesting. All right, looks like we do have instructions. A lot of little clips. I think that's for the wiring. Okay, another wrench. So it looks like these come with all the tools you need, which is nice. Like a long L arm bracket. The two actual lights. And another L bracket, I guess one to hold each light. Okay, it appears step one is to actually install the lights onto those arm brackets. So we'll see if I can get the orientation right for each of those. Looks like the only thing to consider is one of these is set up for the license plate. So that has a license plate bracket and light, it looks like on it. And from the pictures, it looked like that should go on the driver's side. So that's what I'm gonna be aiming for. Okay, so I realized about midway through that these are 10mm bolts. And so if you have a ratchet with a 10mm socket, you're probably better off than using the little provided wrench. Just because there's not a lot of space in between here to actually ratchet it down, especially on the other one where you also have these nuts sticking up. Okay, so next step would be to install my license plate. I'll probably do that later off camera. So looking at the instructions, looks like we have to, okay, they come with all these clips. We have to install these clips there to help keep the wiring harness where it's supposed to be. Okay, so it looks like, okay, on the arms here, let's see if I can get it. There's a spot here, and a spot here, and I was wondering what those are for. Looks like that's where these clips install to help make sure the wiring gets where it's supposed to go. And you have to plug in the main wiring harness. Came with some extra wiring harness pieces to connect through the swing arm, which does have wiring set up in it, which is pretty cool. All right, a couple notes on the wiring harness install for the EXO SwingBase and the LitKit. I almost missed that there's a pin that goes under these swing arms that helps hold these cables up and out of the way. I would recommend you get some gloves on. The little clips actually have like a groove to hold onto this corrugated material, and it's kind of hard on your thumb pushing those in. Same for the clip connectors. They're pretty tight, which I guess is good, but the gloves helped with these installs, especially these ones are pretty tight. First time accessing the wiring harness in the Subaru Forester Wilderness. It is pretty tight with the cut that I made in the last video, if you didn't see that, for the harness install. So you might even want to go slightly wider than the template. But I was able to get in there. Maybe it's supposed to be that tight. It does help it, stay out of the way and look unobtrusive when you're not in use. So it could be intentional. But all in all, it looks like we're installed here. I'm gonna do, I think, a quick power test. Okay, it looked like all the lighting worked well with and without brakes. I was testing all those different potential situations. So it looks like all that worked well. I did have the alert going off, and I'll show you the inside later, but for, I guess, the RAB, the rear assistant braking system, normally you can turn it off from that reverse screen, but it wasn't giving me that option. So I'll have to look into that, because obviously I don't want it yelling at me every time I go in reverse with this system on. But anyway, looks like that install was successful. So the next step is going to be getting the gear locker, this giant thing on there. So I'll be setting up for that and doing that next. I think, it just sits into the system and then tightens down. So we'll see how complex or easy that is. All right, little tip on this install. Open up your gear locker, because the instructions were in there. I was just winging it because I didn't see any instructions. But what I figured out and what it shows here is you angle it. So you kind of come down with the bottom going in first. Lock that into the back of the brackets that run along these arms. And then you pull the front down and you tighten these up. Looks like you need to shift those into lock after they're done. Okay. Yeah. So lots of things. I had never done this before, like I've mentioned, and figuring stuff out. So that's cool. It did come with a separate key here. So what I believe is I should be able to change this out. My actual swing arm base came with a couple extra locks, and that way hopefully I can just use one key system for the whole thing. So we'll have to try that out. Okay, so I was looking at, changing out the lock so you have one set of keys for the whole thing. The complicated part seems to be you have to take off the whole locking mechanism. There's these, I don't know, clips of some kind maybe. When I got a light on in here and looked, let's see if I can get an angle. These components here, it's not like an Allen wrench. I'm not even sure what tool would be used for that change out. Because you see, let me shift the light. Here's the core component, and that's what you change out for the locking mechanism. So I might have to do some research before doing that. Okay, a couple of last thoughts and then we'll go inside the car. It looks like you might need some sort of control key to actually remove these cores. I don't have that currently, so it'll be something I'd have to get. One thing I think I'm gonna do is go and get some electrical tape on these exposed wires and the connectors, and just make sure they get good and sealed up, because I don't know, I mean, obviously being removable is nice, but for a long trip, that's what I'm thinking I'll do. Yeah, and just for the look and, water. So far, it looks like the system's gonna work fine. I don't think I'd be able to open this with it in the closed position, but that's why this is built to swing open, right? So, see if I can do this one-handed. Tighten that on pretty good. And see how this goes with the gear locker installed. Since I did it on the test on the initial install. Okay, that's loose. Unlock that one. Okay, not bad. Then let's test the door open. Switch to the wider angle here. Yeah, so not bad. This is locked right now, but should be able to access it. Well, that's interesting. Probably a good bit of torque on it when it's open like that. Hopefully the weight rating's fine for this. It would be very close with it closed. Let's see if I can do this. Here we go, get it moving. Oh snap. Well, there you go. You can actually open the 22 Forester Wilderness with this EXO GearLocker installed. That is actually going to be super handy. All right, I like that. Okay, I'll go into the inside and show you what we're looking at when we go in reverse. That is where I got to figure out those RAB sensors. So when we go in reverse here, see I'm getting that. Now normally you can like click and hold there and that'll turn it off. Let's try this one. Oh, okay, that's it. So just the parking sensor, turn that off. You actually get a little bit of visibility still with the rear view mirror, camera. So I'm pretty happy about that. All right, well, this has been my install of the Yakima EXO SwingBase system. I'll give a more thorough review once I come back from my trip and we see how well it does, but so far I'm pretty happy. It's nice that you can actually access it and the trunk at the same time without opening it. Wasn't expecting that. But if I ever add on the upper deck system, I think that's what it's called, upper rack, upper deck, then I would definitely have to swing it open to open the tailgate. All right, cool. Thanks everyone.